So now you're looking at proving your credibility. And I do not want you guys to go, well, it's all very well for you, Suze, because remember that I raised £600,000 after having done 2 deals. One was a 1-bed flat, 4 minutes walk from my house. To be fair, bought for 79,000 at the time, worth 120. And it was a 6 or 7 grand refurb. The second one was bought for 85,000 at auction with the aforementioned mistaken aluminium roof, refinanced at 130 with a 7 grand refurb. It was £7,887 or something like that. So those were the only 2 deals I'd done, and I raised 600,000, and one of them had an aluminium roof. I still own that property. Do you know how much the estate agents are telling me it's worth now? Between 200 and 240, and that was only 7 years ago. It's all right, isn't it? Thank you. So, prove your credibility. So first, you know, we deal source, we buy to sell, we buy to keep. So Rachel and I were looking at my maths this morning, weren't we? And we have 17 JVs that are kind of chunked through the system at the moment. And we anticipate earnings of 251,491.71 pence. So £251,491 and 71 pence is our anticipated earnings as the JV partner. What does that mean? That means out of those 17 projects, all of whom are chunked through our system, our partners are also getting £251,000 because it's a 50-50 split. So that's not bad, is it? You know, I can evidence that spreadsheet to somebody. You know, it doesn't mean to say that their project is going to get exactly 1/17 of it, because things are variable, but now I've got credibility. But what do you do at the beginning? Oh, sorry. And here, you know our departments. We've got the lettings department for me. We've got the sourcing, Asha Basha. We've got the buy to sell. We do development and education. So we're set up as a nice business, and we've got some good stats. You know, we've done, well, I think it's on deal 207 now. I forget which number it is, but, you know, we're roughly 45 million quid's worth of property for 30 million quid. Not bad in 5 years, which is why I had to expand out my funding team. So I had to have those deals funded because he just ran at a pace, which was fantastic. But I had to bring the investors in while he brought the deals in, and I had to keep catching up with them. You know, yeah, so it was accident, to be fair. So that's fine. And single lets, oh, this is it. This is my second one ever that still has an aluminium roof. This is the house that Ash bought me, or rather I bought from Ash when he was still an estate agent. Later on, it discovered it had Japanese knotweed, which was a gift, I believe, a gift from Ash. And then things like some of our multi-lets. So Osborne Road, it's quite nice, isn't it? Quite nice profit. So now I can evidence very clear case studies. There you go. Joe and Josh Knecht gave me those flowers. So if you are in our mentoring group and you send me flowers to say thank you, they will definitely go into one of my property photos. And also these flowers also came from a mentoring client. And oh look, they went into happened that we were renovating the smelly dog house at that point. So those flowers went into every single photo in every single bedroom on that property. Norton Road, not bad, bought for 300. But do you see, this is not one of my best ones. Because look, I've left quite a lot of money in there. I would rather show my investors good quality deals, but not my best deals. So I'm not over-promising. So this one is delicious, isn't it? Bought for 203, revalued 330. I'm not even going to tell you how much that's worth now. I only bought that 3 years ago, but it's beautiful, should we just say? Because that part of Bristol is the part that's gone up the most. So there's an awful lot more on that now. But that's quite nice. That's a pretty decent deal. Bought for 203, revalued at 330 6 months later. Okay, so I'm showing I can really do this stuff. I'm then going to show a deal that is less good. So the gross profit is nice, but look how much money I'm leaving in that property. And I would rather not always show my best deals. I would rather explain why I was happy to leave money in that property so that my investors have a realistic view rather than an optimistic view that everything works out perfectly. And again, it's rather nice, isn't it? The photos on that. And Albion, bought for 120. Ash found me this one, lovely. Refurbed 18. This was bought entirely with private investor funding. Why? Because it had asylum seekers in it. So it was bought as a repossession. I actually bought 2 of the chaps' houses. And he had a contract with a company who was a dreadful company, actually. Theresa May Home Secretary had mentioned them in Houses of Parliament as being an appalling company to work with. I got very upset. Didn't you remember, Fern? I got very, very upset about the treatment of this very large, very profitable corporate landlords and how they treated asylum seekers. The sister house to this one that I bought had 57 electrical faults and a beautiful smiley family with 3 babies under the age of 5. I got very, very upset. I got very evangelical for a moment about that. Refugee Council and all the rest of it. However, I'll just come to you in a moment, because it was the guy had gone bankrupt that actually owned the property, the original owner and landlord. He was on a long-term contract with this company. Most banks will not put in what they won't fund mortgages for what they class as vulnerable tenants. But I presume because, I don't know, there is a presumption. I also got really upset at corporate racism. I was right on my high horse about this one, because what's wrong with refugees who are housed and a larger landlord is actually looking after them as an interim between you and the landlord? I just felt it was corporate racism, but that's an entire other matter. And therefore, whilst I was buying this property, we couldn't evict the corporate tenancy in time for me to buy this property, so it had to be bought cash. So this one was bought entirely with cash. There was a question.
It was just that the point of reference for the future is that Cambridge and Katie's Bank would do that.
Ah, thank you. Good, good. I didn't know that because I bought 2 houses.
Well, they wouldn't have done 2 years ago, they will do now.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much. And often these are quite run-down properties, which again, it certainly made me very upset. But isn't that nice? That is now worth £250, and I bought that, I think it was about 3 years ago in January. Isn't that crazy? So again, I'm going to evidence some nice pieces of credibility. There you go. And then, how can you evidence to your investors that you can work on property if it goes wrong? Because it's all very well going, oh, look at these beautiful figures. Isn't this wonderful? I can buy to sell or I can buy to rent. Yeah? But what happens when it goes wrong? So Claremont Road is a flat I bought and that I bought to buy and sell. I bought 2 to buy and sell. I was very excited about Claremont Road. It looks beautiful, doesn't it? I wasn't very excited about the other one. It was like, boring. This one, all the estate agents were going crazy over. They were fighting to sell this one because I'd done it so beautifully. Just didn't sell. I mean, they all agreed it was worth what we were asking for it. It just didn't sell. What'd you do? So it was too nice for tenants, sorry, but it was, because I still intended at that point to sell it. I actually still have it now, and I'm very glad I still have it now because it's now worth £250. And at that point I was trying to sell it 4 years ago for 200, so I'm very glad of that. But it was too nice for long-term tenants because I was thinking, well, I'm going to try and sell it in 6 months' time, so I put in service lets. And I had an 85 to 90% occupancy rate, because it was too nice for normal tenants, because I wanted people that would sort of walk in very lightly with just one small suitcase and then walk out again, probably eat out most nights, not going to be cooking much, are they? And guess what? I got double the rent as I would have done as a normal flat. So that's credibility by saying, look at what happened when it went wrong. This is how I saved the situation. Now, I had many sleepless nights when I was realising it wasn't going to sell, and I wasn't on for that. So, I had to really get creative, and service flats are now becoming thing of the moment. Well, they weren't thing of the moment 4 years ago. I had to really dig. But it allows your investors to understand what happens when the going gets tough. You get going and you find a solution. And that adds to your credibility. So I'd suggest you don't want to just sell gloss, because actually, particularly in joint ventures, things go wrong. And if you've sold gloss, your investors will expect gloss, and gloss doesn't exist in property. You want to sell reality, and you always want to have a conversation with a JV partner before you start a JV to say, let's talk about everything that can go wrong. The roof might go wrong. together. So particularly for joint ventures, be clear.